MetaFacts Legends, History Ranked, Episode 1 Entry Number 5. Nonviolence, the power that refused to strike back. What if I told you that some of the most powerful revolutions in history weren't led by warriors, but by men in sandals, that they didn't use guns, tanks, or bombs, but fasting, marching, and silence, that they won not by taking lives, but by refusing to take revenge? Welcome back to MetaFacts Legends, History Ranked. We are halfway through our countdown of the top 10 ideologies that changed and scarred human history. And at number 5, we come to an idea so paradoxical, so powerful, that even empires couldn't defeat it. This is nonviolence, not passivity, not weakness, but a strategy of dignity, discipline, and defiance. Let's begin in India. At the start of the 20th century, it was called the jewel in the crown of the British Empire. But that crown came with shackles. Over 300 million Indians lived under colonial rule, subject to foreign laws, foreign taxes, and foreign bullets. And yet, the man who led him to independence wore homespun cotton and never raised a sword. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, known as Mahatma, the great soul. Born in 1869 in Porbandar, Gandhi studied law in London and worked in South Africa, where he first experienced institutional racism. There, he was thrown off a train for sitting in a whites-only car, despite having a first-class ticket. That moment would change the world. In 1906, Gandhi coined the term Satyagraha, which means truth force or soul force. It was the idea that oppression could be resisted not by violence, but by moral pressure. By refusing to comply with unjust laws, one could awaken the conscience of the oppressor. His methods: civil disobedience, hunger strikes, boycotts, peaceful marches. His most famous campaign, the Salt March of 1930, in protest of Britain's monopoly on salt, a basic necessity. Gandhi walked 240 miles over 24 days to the Arabian Sea, where he picked up a lump of salt and broke the law. That one act inspired millions. He was arrested again and again. In total, Gandhi spent over 2.00 days in jail, nearly 6 years of his life, without ever lifting a weapon. But the British Empire did. In 1919, British troops opened fire on unarmed Indian civilians in Amritsar, killing over 400 and wounding 1.20. The world watched in horror. Gandhi responded, not with a bomb, but with a nationwide day of prayer and fasting. By 1947, after decades of pressure, marches, and prison terms, the British left. India was free, but freedom came with a cost: partition. As India and Pakistan separated, over 15 million people were displaced. Nearly 2 million died in sectarian violence. Gandhi was heartbroken. He fasted again, this time not against the British, but against his own countrymen. His goal was simple: to stop Hindus and Muslims from killing each other. In 1948, at age 78, he was shot, not by a colonial soldier, but by a Hindu nationalist. His final words: "Hey Ram, oh God, let's move west to America." A century after slavery was abolished, Black Americans still lived under segregation, disenfranchisement, and racial terror. In 1955, a seamstress named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. That act sparked a boycott, and at the center of it stood a young pastor from Atlanta, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He studied theology, he studied Gandhi, and he fused nonviolence with the Black church's tradition of moral righteousness. King's tool was love in action. His movement's milestones: 1955-56, Montgomery bus boycott, lasted over 381 days. 1963, March on Washington, over 250,000 people gathered to hear him say, "I have a dream." 1964, Civil Rights Act passed, outlawing segregation in public spaces. 1965, Voting Rights Act signed into law, but his path wasn't paved with applause. King was jailed 29 times, attacked, spied on by the FBI, vilified in newspapers. He knew violence could have brought quicker results, but he chose another way. His philosophy: darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. In 1968, while supporting striking sanitation workers in Memphis, he was assassinated. He was 39 years old. Yet his legacy lives on, in schools, streets, and songs, and in every movement that refuses to fight fire with fire. But nonviolence isn't just Eastern philosophy or American civil rights. Let's talk South Africa. Under apartheid, over 22 million black South Africans were denied the right to vote, own land, or live in white areas. The regime used prison, torture, and bullets to silence dissent. Nelson Mandela, at first, believed in armed resistance, but after spending 27 years in prison, he emerged preaching reconciliation. "I have walked that long road to freedom," he said, "and I have discovered that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb." In 1994, Mandela became president. His message: forgive, rebuild, do not avenge. Nonviolence won, even after centuries of oppression. But here's a twist: nonviolence doesn't always work. Or rather, it doesn't always look like victory. In Tiananmen Square, 1989, Chinese students protested peacefully for democratic reform. They held signs, sang songs, stood before tanks. The Chinese government responded with force. Death toll, unknown. Estimates range from 300 to 10,000. The footage of the tank man still haunts history. In Myanmar, the 2021 anti-coup protests were largely peaceful. The military responded with live bullets, killing over 1,000 civilians. So why rank nonviolence so high? Because it changed what revolution could mean. Because it showed that dignity is a weapon. Because the most lasting victories, from India to South Africa to the US, were won not just in war rooms, but in jail cells, church pews, and silent marches. Let's talk numbers. Gandhi's Salt March inspired over 60,000 arrests, without any violence from protesters. Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights campaigns helped register over 2 million black voters in the American South. Mandela's Post-Apartheid Truth and Reconciliation Commission heard over 21,000 testimonies, helping a nation heal without civil war. Nonviolence, at its best, is a revolution not of the sword, but of the soul. So, what part of this story should we explore deeper in a future episode? Gandhi's letters from prison, MLK's strategy meetings, Mandela's secret communications from Robben Island. Tell us in the comments. At MetaFacts Legends, we're not just ranking history, we're retelling it. Together, we've added original speeches, books, and documentaries in the description below. Affiliate links included for those who want to go deeper. Subscribe to MetaFacts Legends to keep this journey alive. Support us by sharing, commenting, or donating if you can. This was entry number 5, Nonviolence, the power that refused to strike back. Next up on MetaFacts Legends, the idea that lit the spark for revolutions, declared that all men are created equal, and gave birth to both liberty and contradiction. Top number 4, individual liberty and classical liberalism, coming next.